Hey, what's up, guys? Here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we do here is fire. You guys know the drill. So let's get right to the YouTube show I have for you guys today. Here on the Fire Sports Pod, we got two segments for you guys today on the YouTube show. We just posted our Apple Podcast and Spotify audio show at the Fire Sports Pod. We went over just in general the NHL buyers and sellers for the trade deadline, similar to what we're going to do in this thing, but we're going to be going over all 32 teams and what they have to do with buyers and sellers and how that's going to roll. So we got to do that, and then after that, we'll be moving on. That will be our last segment on our show. First segment we have is we're going to be going over what happened with the Chiefs, man. They've given up a big asset on offense and a big asset for them on defense. So let's just check that out right here and right now. I mean, who would have thought that the Chiefs were going to give this up? I mean, I certainly didn't think so. But remember, he did have a lot of drops during the season. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, you guys kind of do. It's Marquez Valdes-Scantling from the Kansas City Chiefs, formerly known from the Green Bay Packers. What was likely to be an eventful offseason for the reigning Super Bowl champs, double champs, is underway as the Kansas City Chiefs are releasing wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling. NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero reported on Wednesday morning. MVS was heading for the final season of his 3-year deal with the Chiefs, and his release will provide $12 million cap savings for the Kansas City per over the cap. Hopefully for re-signing impending free agents Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed, and Chiefs need to crunch the Brooks. Their parting of ways with Valdes-Scantling should help. Again, he did cost them multiple games during the regular season with not being able to catch the football, but then came up huge in the Super Bowl, big time for them. So really, you got to thank him. Now, a splashy and speedy signing for the Chiefs after they traded Tyreek Hill. MVC continued on the similar career path set with his previous squad, the Green Bay Packers. He flashed his brilliance, but more than anything was inconsistent like many. You had 63 receptions for 1,002 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 seasons for the Chiefs. 2 full seasons, he was only mustered able to get to 1,000 yards, just past 1,000 yards, and only 63 receptions and only 3 touchdowns. And one of them came in the Super Bowl, but helped them win back-to-back Super Bowls. Most notable, he had a huge 116-yard, 1-touchdown AFC Championship game in 2022 season and hauled in a 16-yard touchdown pass in Super Bowl 58 just this past year for the Chiefs' only touchdown in regulation. That is something to say. Now, they're letting him go. We will see what the route is to get another bona fide wide receiver because they definitely need to get that number one for Patrick Mahomes. Rashid Rice looked like that was his number one, but he was very inconsistent in that Super Bowl, and it was more of a Valdes-Scantling to kind of everybody type role with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got rolling in the basically the top of the fourth quarter to the overtime was when they kept moving. So now, the next guy, this just came in a couple hours ago, that the guy we just said yesterday, they were trading MVS away. They were trying to maybe definitely re-sign Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed. Now it looks like L'Jarius Sneed is going to test the market. The Kansas City Chiefs could be saying goodbye to one of their defensive stars on the back end of it in the cornerback position. The Chiefs have granted cornerback L'Jarius Sneed permission to seek a trade. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported on Wednesday. Rappaport added that the Chiefs could elect to use their franchise tag on Sneed ahead of next Tuesday's deadline and then trade the fourth-year defensive back. That is ridiculous to even think about. If Kansas City does indeed tag Sneed by March 5th deadline, the organization will have until mid-July to either lock him into a larger extension or presumably make a good on its word and trade him. The one-year franchise tag for cornerbacks is set at $19.8 million for the 2024 season. The 2024 rounder has blossomed into a stud for the Chiefs during his rookie contract, developing a reputation of sticky coverage with 10 interceptions, 40 passes defended, 4 forced fumbles, and 6.5 sacks in his career so far. Teams are sure to come calling, but they'll have to compete with Kansas City's negotiating power and the lure of sticking it out with the team that drafted him to make a run at a Super Bowl three-peat. And if they want to run a Super Bowl three-peat, they definitely need this man in that locker room to come help out Chris Jones on the cornerback side of things, because you got that big monster man on the D-line in Chris Jones, but man, it would be great to have that bona fide cornerback in the back that really can help and really lock down those top receivers so Chris Jones can do his effect on the quarterback, or the running back, or just in general the whole offense, and make his presence felt. But other than that, that is pretty much it for the first segment here on the Fire Sports Pod on our YouTube show. We are going to be moving on to our next segment, which will be the NHL trade deadline. There are a lot of teams that are going to be buying, are going to be selling, are going to be staying put. And most notable, the Rangers are looking to move to get some better help in just more depth, really. The Devils look like they're not going to make a move because a lot of the goalies that they want, the goaltenders that they want, are on contracts longer than this season. So they would have to wait till the offseason to make that trade or make that move to pick up those players. So it looks like the Devils, and a lot of people are saying the Devils will probably miss the playoffs entirely. Or if they do, they might just screech in, but will be a first-round exit to most teams. So we'll see what happens in the next in the next 2 months or so as we have left in the NHL season. But we will see what is the better fit for each team. Now, we are going to be going into the better fit for each team. Now, like I said, the Rangers are looking to move. Avalanche are looking to move. Golden Knights are also looking to move. Now, I'm going to share my screen because we have a lot to get to. So let me present. We're going to share the screen here. But in general, guys, the NHL this year, with a lot of sports this year, have been very unpredictable. I mean, in general, you have some things that are just like some losses, some wins are like, oh my God, how did these teams get these wins? So first up, with the Panthers. Now, the Panthers, they are on a very, very, very good streak. They have been playing very well this season, despite what they happened last year. They squeaked into the playoffs, and they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final to eventually lose to the Vegas Knights, who are going to probably be making a move because Jack Eichel, for similar as he cannot stay fucking healthy. Now, the Panthers, normally I would encourage a team like this to buy aggressively. But that isn't the case with the 2023-2024 season. Panthers, frankly, I'm not sure if this team needs any major upgrades. And Florida is without first-round pick unit 2026. The Panthers are already a cup contender as it is. And I doubt that will change anytime soon since Matthew Trocheck and Alexander Barkov are locked in for a long haul. Florida may be better served swinging a big trade in the offseason when it will have more financial flexibility to help keep the cup window open. They are now 39-16-4. That is really good. And you guys don't realize what I'm talking about. That is really good. That's a great record, basically, after the All-Star break. Now, at the 2 seed, you have, these are the rankings on buyers and sellers. You have the 39-17-3 in my New York Rangers. Buy. As good as the Rangers have been, they have some gaps to fill. If they want to get most out of this group with the Felipe Chartier out for the long term, New York has a need at the center position and is where GM Chris Drury should focus on his attention. Tommy Novak, a skilled forward for the Predators, has been linked to the Rangers and would be a good fit in the void led by Chartier. Now, the third are the Winnipeg Jets at 37-15-5. Now, people say they should buy. The Jets have a number of key players who are at or approaching 30, and they aren't getting any younger. 2 of those players are Mark Shiva and Connor Helbig, have massive extensions that kick into the next season. Winnipeg needs to strike while the iron is hot and make a run at the Cup this season. Despite adding Sean Manhan already, the Jets could use another playmaker up front and another difference maker on the blue line if they want to get past the Stars and Avalanche in the West. Now, the Maple Leafs are 4. They are 33-17-8. The Maple Leafs will once again be buyers at the trade deadline as they hope to strike while Austin Matthews is in prime of his career, as it's been in the case in recent years. Toronto will be looking to upgrade, be willing to upgrade it's a blue line, assuming that it's in case of GM Brad Trevelyan should be calling his former team, the Flames, on a regular basis, landing Chris Tavia or Noah Hanfield. That would represent a step in the right direction for the Leafs. Now, the fifth is the Hurricanes. Now, the Hurricanes, they should buy. Carolina is firmly in its Stanley Cup window. It has a little cap space and it has draft capital, but those things together and as a recipe for the Hurricanes to be aggressive buyers at the trade deadline. I know they don't usually fork over premium assets for rentals, but the East is wide open, and Carolina has a good shot as any team to get to the Stanley Cup final. No, they don't, because they got to run through my Rangers and everybody else in the Metropolitan Division. So we'll see about that. But the next one are the Oilers. They are in a pretty good sequence by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are in the prime of their careers. That should be enough for any GM, especially Keen Holland, to throw a caution to the wind, adding to that urgency in the fact that Leon Draisaitl is due a rather larger raise in 2025. I thought the Oilers could be a good landing spot for Jake Gutso, a move that would create a terrifying top six opposing teams, but they might need to take a second look at the goaltending market given Stuart Skinner's recent struggles. Now, at the seventh spot, you have the Red Wings. Now, the Red Wings are 33-20-6. They're saying they should hold, and I kind of agree. Steve Yzerman must be happy that, man, these days the Red Wings are rolling, and Yzerman is coming in starting to yield results. However, that doesn't mean that Detroit should make any kind of major additions at the trade deadline. The Wings aren't quite ready to be a true cup contender yet, so Yzerman may want to hold on to those future assets in order to add in the offseason when acquisition costs might be a little lower. That might be better for the team's long-term outlook. Now, at the eighth spot is the Avalanche. They're having them buy. It's not a secret that the Avalanche have been searching for their elusive second-line center since Nazem Kadri left after the Stanley Cup run in 2022. Unfortunately, Colorado lost the Elias Lindholm sweeptakers a few weeks ago, but the team should be in a market for a center depth. If the Avs can get a center with some term left on its contract, all the better. They are 36-19-5. Now the Stars are at the 9th spot. People are saying they should buy as well. The Stars are one of the NHL's elite teams in this season, and they should conduct themselves in that manner in the trade deadline. GM Jim Nill should leave no stone unturned in his pursuit of a Stanley Cup, especially when it comes to getting help on a on the defense. The Stars are as loaded as a forward as any team, and Jake Oettinger can steal a playoff series when he's at his best. If Dallas can get another solid top four defenseman, watch out. They are 35-17-9. Now the Canucks are at 10. They are 38-16-7. There's a lot of people saying buy. They're one of the top teams in the NHL as well. There might be quite few changes for this Canucks roster in 2024-2025, so they might as well go ahead and try to win it all with this group, especially if there is any inkling that Elias Peterson might be hesitant to sign a long-term deal. Vancouver has already made a splash by adding Elias Lindholm, but getting another dynamic defenseman could put this team over the top in the West. Now at the 11th spot, you have the Bruins. They're saying they are 34-12-14. They're saying buy. I almost went hold here because the Bruins haven't exactly been playing inspiring hockey lately. That said, I want to see what this team looks like when David Pastrnak has a little more help up front on Boston's offense and has been somewhat in this month and has desperately needs another playmaker in the top six if it's going to escape the gauntlet that is a deep Eastern Conference. They are 34-12-14. Now Vegas, the defending champs, they are 12. People saying to buy. The injury has once again bitten the Golden Knights in the ass, but that also also might create some financial flexibility ahead of the trade deadline. If Mark Stone does hit LTIR, that will create some cap space ahead of the deadline, and Vegas can be more aggressive when it comes to buying. That's what the Golden Knights did last season, and it wound up working out pretty well for them. They're still firmly in the cup window. Now, 13 are the Lightning. Now, by the Lightning GM, Julian Brisebois doesn't need me to tell him to be aggressive, but the NHL trade deadline is upon us. He's done that consistently throughout his tenure. I'm sure Tampa will be working the phones again on the deadline, perhaps even more than usual. Steve Stamkos is a pending UFA, and if the Bolts do want to make another run with their core, they will probably need to bolster their blue line. Now, 14 of the Predators. The Predators should sell. Nashville has rattled off 6 straight road wins and is back in a playoff spot. That aside, GM Barry Trotz can't lose sight of the larger picture. The Predators aren't going to win the Stanley Cup in 2024, and they have players that would be a very appealing contending team. Jose Soros would be the big ticket item, but Tommy Novak could fetch a decent return to Nashville needs to help its long-term plan in the mind, and all sell at this deadline at 33, 25, and 2. The Lightning are 32, 24, and 5. Now the Flames are the 15th. They sell. The Flames have done well to hang around in the Western Conference playoff race, but it would be a huge mistake not to keep selling before this trade deadline. Calgary already get some nice pieces in return of Elias Lindholm, but the trio of Noah Hanford and Chris Tanve and Jacob Markstrom could really set the team up for a supercharged rebuild. The Flames might wind up as one of the big winners from this trade deadline. They are 29, 25, and 5. Now the Flyers hold. This is probably not the most prudent decision for a Flyers team that just started a rebuild, but I think the human side of things can get lost in the trade deadline discussions. The team was expected to be one of the worst in the league, but the whole roster has bought into Joe Treville's vision, which has worked. In its tail off, he put himself in a position to reach the playoffs. There's an argument that the players should be rewarded the opportunity to see what they can do in the postseason. They are 31, 22, and 7. The Kings, they should buy. Still think the Kings have what it takes to compete for a Stanley Cup this season. I don't know about that for me, but they are going to need some help. Their offense has lagged behind expectations by a wide margin this year, and they need another solid finisher in the lineup. Jake Gutzlow. The other questioning facing Los Angeles is how much it trusts the goaltending duo of Cam Talbot and David Richards to hold up in the postseason. I'm not so crazy about the Kings. I just think they're a good team, but I don't think they're a Stanley Cup winning team. Now you got the Devils. If you guys looked on my audio show, we explained a little bit about the Devils and what is happening this year. But they say buy. This buy tag comes with an asterisk. Anyone the Devils might add at this trade deadline needs to come with the term left on its contract or on an extension. It's just not worth it for New Jersey to add a rental right now, because there is more than a decent chance that the team misses the playoffs entirely. Obviously, goaltending is a major positioning of need for Devils, and a couple of options are out there. Jacob Markstrom and Jose Soros would both be clear upgrades, and their contracts kind of run beyond the season, so this move would have to be in the offseason. They are 30, 25, and 4. The Kings are 29, 19, and 10. Now you move to the Wild. They should hold. The Wild seem to have really found a groove under John Hines, and then has them battling for the second wild card spot in the Western Conference. As a result, I'm not sure Minnesota needs to do anything major at the trade deadline. One way or another, maybe the Wild find a dance partner in Marc-André Fleury, but other than that, they have some interesting pieces and should have positioned for a step forward when they buy out penalties of Zach Paris and Ryan Suter come off the books. They are 28, 25, and 6. Now, the Capitals are at the 20th spot. They should sell. Washington has actually played quite well lately. Tuesday's night's blowout loss aside, though the Capitals' recent play has been impressive. It's hard to imagine them going on a deep run, even if they get into the postseason. Washington might be able to flip Anthony Matha and or Max Pacioretty, helping to add some forward depth that would give a franchise in transition more firepower to work with at the draft. They are 27, 22, and 9. Now, the Senators, they should hold. They are already being quite a bit of a chatter around Jacob Syndrome ahead of this year's trade deadline, but I do think the Senators should let him stick around for the second season in a row. I might be getting fooled by a late season push from Ottawa, but it's hard to deny the team has some skill. I say keep this group together, tweak some things in the offseason, and make another run at it in 2024 and 2025. The Sabres are 22. They should sell. It has been another disappointing season in Buffalo, and it is time for the team to start selling off of its pending free agents. The most interesting potential trade chip for the Sabres, Casey Mistra, a pending restricted free agent in the midst of a strong season. Mistra would have a ton of value at the trade market between its low salary and RFA status. The Sabres might be able to get a haul for him. They are 27, 28, and 4. Now you move to the Blues side of the things. They are a little off this year, and just in the general grand scheme of things. I mean, if you look at it, they should sell. The Blues are yet another one of those teams that remained in the playoffs hunt for a good while, but reality is starting to set in. With 5 losses in the last 7 games, if St. Louis is going to sell, it will have to move Pavel Benchevich. Hands down, the most appealing option for the playoff teams around the league. Moving, it would help the Blues restock draft capital and their prospect put in a hurry. They are 30, 26, and 2. Now we move to the Penguins. The Penguins should sell. The Penguins have held on for as long as they can, but it's time to give up the ghost. Pittsburgh isn't going to the playoffs, and Jake Gusto would be the most sought-after player on the trade market. On top of that, the Penguins might be able to move Riley Smith and one of their goalies. I'm not suggesting a full rebuild needs to happen, but they do need some ammo to reload in the offseason. Sidney Crosby to have 1 or 2 more swings at a Stanley Cup. They are 27, 21, and 8. Now we move to the Kraken. They should buy. Hear me out. On this one, no, the Kraken aren't likely to make the playoffs of this year, but they have financial flexibility beyond this season. They have a decent stockpile of future assets. I think it would be fun to see whether Seattle can weaponize those things and add players who might be around for a while. If they don't do it ahead of the deadline, I have to think that the Kraken would start that process over the summer. They are 25, 22, and 11. And I do agree with that. I think the Kraken probably will start it over the course of the summer, because it really might not make sense right now. But now we move to the Islanders at 26. They should hold. I want to say sell for this Islanders, but they might have painted themselves into a corner with their contract situation. GM Lou Lamoriello has handed out quite a few long-term contracts to players approaching the age of 30 lately, and that will make them hard. It will make them hard to move, even if they've been productive. Maybe the Esses could deal Brock Nelson, who has just 1 year left on the season, but even that might prove difficult. They are 24, 20, and 14. The Blue Jackets, they should hold. The Blue Jackets are just recently fired GM Jarmo Kelleran, and John Davidson is currently serving as the interim. That being in the case, I'm not sure Columbus should make a big move until its next full-time GM is in place. Besides, it's not likely they have a ton of options out there at the deadline. Jack Busker might bring back a return, but I'm not sure the Jackets fully team into the role of a seller here. They are 19, 28, and 10. Now the Ducks, they should sell. Simply put, the Ducks have one of the more intriguing centers on the market in Adam Henrik. He has 16 goals and 22 assists this season and would be a nice middle six center for a team lacking in that area. Maybe a team like the Avalanche would be willing to part with a nice collection of future assets in exchange for Henrik. They are 20, 35, and 3. Now we are moving to the end, the home stretch of teams. You have now the last 4 in the Canadiens, the Sharks, the Blackhawks, and the Coyotes. We are running on 25 minutes right now, so let's get right into it. The Canadiens, they should hold. The Canadiens have already made their big move by getting a nice return from veteran center Sean McCann. As the deadline approaches, they are not quite as aggressive. Instead of selling of any more significant pieces, Montreal may just want to let head coach Martin St. Louis keep minding their young core at a 23 and 28 and 8 record. Now the Sharks, they can sell. The Sharks could sell, but so now guys, we have the Sharks. Now the Sharks are a little bit weird. The Sharks, you want to sell with the Sharks. San Jose may not have been a ton of high end options available at the deadline, but the team can be a volume shooter. Anthony Duclair and Michael Grenlod, Luke Cunnin, and Mario go-karts. That's funny. Mario Fernandez should all be at the fetch of the modest returns. That would be any given GM Mike Greer even more ammo as the status of a massive rebuild for the Sharks. Now, again, the Sharks are 15, 37, and 5, so there is really no sense in buying or trying to do it. They're not doing shit this year, so it makes sense for them to sell. The Canadiens are a little bit different. They're still in the stretch of things, so that's why they want. I agree with holding on it. Now, yeah, the Blackhawks, I mean, they are 15, 39, and 5. They are the worst team in the NHL, but they're going to hold. How bad can one team possibly get? Do the Blackhawks really need to get rid of anyone else? Not really. Who would they even trade for? You really can't. They can't trade for really anybody because they have nobody. Just let Connor Bedard keep what little help he has around him right now so that he can finish his rookie campaign strong and win the Calder Trophy. So I think we just got to hold off with the Blackhawks there because they are just so bad. Now the Coyotes, on the other hand, they should sell. This is the last team on the thing. They should sell. They are 23, 30, and 5. They should sell. They can sell the team. Question mark. Kidding. Not really. The Coyotes have got a one hockey game since January 22nd. That's 13 straight losses, and have to imagine only a handful of players are untouchable. Arizona needs some draft capital that it can use either by drafting prospects or trading for them established players to add to its young core. So really, you have a lot of options here. There are really not so many moves that are going to be made in the trade deadline. You'll see the top teams try to make some big moves, and some shittier teams that are in the fold that are trying to get a little bit better. But you could see them making a move to try to be a little bit better in the case of trying to be competitive. But you get the Ducks, you get the Blackhawks, you get the the Ducks, the Blackhawks, and the Sharks. All those teams, they're really bottom feeders. Can't really worry about the Kraken, the Canadiens, those guys that are really in the middle. They can kind of do what they can make a push because there's still 2 months left in the NHL. Feels like there's nothing there. There's everything's going bye-bye. It's not. It's still 2 months left in this long season. Anything can happen. The Rangers can go down the tubes. The Devils can win every game. The top teams, the Avalanche, the Bruins, the Vegas Knights, all these guys can be bad. All these guys can go on a winning streak. Same with the Coyotes. January 22nd was their last win. They've lost 13 straight games. Feels like the Sharks and the Blackhawks. Feels like the Pistons right now. where the Pistons can't really get nothing. They just got their 9th win last night over the Bulls. They're 9-49. I mean, they win one more game and lose one game. They're 10-50. And in 60 games, they've only won 10 games. That's just embarrassing. So it's similar to what the Pistons are doing in the NFL. I mean, in the NBA. But other than that, guys, that is pretty much it for my YouTube show here on the Fire Sports Pod. I will catch you guys on Friday as we go into our YouTube show. Don't forget to check out my audio show here on the Apple Podcast and Spotify. I will catch you guys on Friday going over some stuff in the sports world. Hope you guys enjoyed my show. I'm your host, Zach Jackson, and that will be it for my YouTube show here on the Fire Sports Pod. Peace out.